Welcome to the IonaHoops.com podcast with your host, Kyle Franko.
What's up, Gale Nation? It's season 5, episode 13 of the IonaHoops.com podcast, and MAAC chaos is upon us. Who are the Iona Gales? I don't think any of us really have an answer just yet. We've got drama. It's like a soap opera here in New Rochelle. But hey, we're coming off a win, and that's good enough. And we've got suddenly an interesting game next week. So we've got a week off now until we play again at Ryder. And Ryder's now won 2 straight. Perfect timing to have Kyle Franko from the Trentonian as our guest. I planned that before, knowing that Ryder was going to win 2 straight. So kudos to me. Anyway, we've got recruiting news. We've got an interesting Iota as well. I'll give you our little state of the Gales, and also we have press conference recordings from last night as well, hearing from the players as well as Tobin. So let's get right into it with our Iota.
Iotas.
So everybody wants to talk about, hey, what all those guys that left last year, not the guys who were seniors and graduated or grad students and all that, but the guys who transferred out, all those transfers, where did they go? Who's doing what? What did we miss out on? The answer is not very much. I'm going to start with the one positive, and that is Gene Aranguren. Remember him? He's doing some great things at Hofstra. He's averaging more than 14 points a game, six boards, more than 4 assists. He's been tremendous for the Pride this year. We got to see him in person. He tore us a new one out on Long Island earlier in the year, pairing with another former Gal, a couple of other former Gals in that way. Now, Hofstra hasn't had the greatest season, but he is doing good things there. And he is the only one. What happened to Greg Gordon, you want to know? Transferred to UAB, got a big bag of cash, I'm sure. Certainly he's part of their rotation. Certainly he's doing some great things there, right? Well, after averaging about 3 points a game, he's left the program. And I think you guys may have known this. You might have seen it on the boards or on Twitter. He was actually at an Iona game not long ago. No Warriors fans. His girlfriend is at Iona. So that's why he was there. But no, he's not coming back to the Gales or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know the story there about what happened at UAB, but it's obviously a similar story to what happened in New Rochelle. Who else? Well, probably the player who's doing the most, if you can call it that, I'm putting air quotes around most, is Sully, Sultan Adewale. He's about like the 9th or 10th man at Albany, averaging about 4 points and 2 boards a game. Not really much different than what he was doing here, although he was playing a lot more for us. So he's really not too much, but that is the best outside of Aranguren of the former Gales. Oh, wait a minute. What about JQ, Jeremiah Quigley? Certainly, he was one of our stars last year. He really was a solid player for us down the stretch of the season, probably our most reliable player in a lot of ways. Well, he hasn't played so much for George Mason, which really isn't a huge level above Iona in essence. Barely getting time on the court, averaging not even 2 points a game. Not sure what happened there, why he's not performing well, but big mistake, JQ. Other guys, the other role players that we saw, same thing. Saunders is averaging about 3 points a game. He is at New Hampshire. Alex Bates, I believe, is at Stonehill. He's at like a couple points a game. Isaac Bryce is averaging about a couple points a game. I forgot which school he's at, quite frankly. Something out Portland State maybe or something like that. So nobody other than Aranguren is really doing anything anywhere else. Just thought I'd mention that. It was a big debate. We're losing all these guys. But hey, I mean, when you see that they're not really doing anything anywhere else, and in some cases are just flat out disappointments in the cases of Gordon and JQ, what did we really lose? Anyway, that's the end of that Iota. And this is the beginning of looking at potential new Gales as we hit the offer roundup.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
It's been a little quiet on the old roundup lately, but we've got some offers to report on. We're going to start in the community college ranks. Ethan Copeland is a 6'2" combo guard out of Salt Lake Community College. He's averaging 18 points, 5 boards, 3.5 assists per game. Shoots 43% from 3. Got a recent offer from Stetson. Also had visited and had an offer from Kansas City in the fall. So there's a recent offer for the Gales. Also, junior college ranks. This is an interesting one. His name is Cohen, I guess, Gonzalez. He's earned an offer. He's a 5'9" sophomore guard from Pima Community College. Now they are considered a D2 community college, but they play up games. They actually just beat. I want to say I can't remember who they beat. They beat somebody who's pretty highly ranked in the JUCO Division I level. So it's a high level D2 Pima. He averages 21 points, 6 assists, shoots 49% from the floor overall, 44% from three. Taking 7 attempts per game, by the way. Also 86% from the line. We are his first D1 offer. So I imagine his size is a concern. Maybe it shouldn't be. Despite being 5'9", he can dunk and has 4 blocks this season. So he would be interesting. We'll see what happens with him. Now we'll go to a string of class of 2026 offers. We'll start with Ethan Butler out of St. Francis Prep. He's a 6'6" wing, can play inside and out, great perimeter shooter, rebounds well. He's got a high motor. Manhattan offered him recently as well, so we'll keep an eye on that. His St. Francis Prep teammate is, I'm going to try to say this name, Osamana. Sounds good. Osamana Sacco. 6'8" forward. He's physically mature. He's a specimen. Scores inside and out. He was offered by Mississippi State last summer. Has more recent offers from Marist, Manhattan, ODU, FIU, and LIU. And wrapping it up, we have Peyton Miller. He's a 6'2" point guard from the George School in PA. He's got offers from Fairfield, Marist, Penn, Holy Cross, Bryant, NJIT, Stonehill, American, and Albany. 3-level scorer, great mid-range game, excellent defender. So the staff's been out there getting some offers out. I know that they are out there recruiting this week too. Again, with having no game over this weekend, they're out recruiting like now. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye out for some more offers for the next podcast. We'll have maybe some more updates. And now, speaking of updates, the state of the Gales. So where are the Iona Gales right now? What exactly are we? We put together a string of games where we, had a great first half, had a lead early second half, went cold, saw our opponent bypass us, and then we couldn't try to rally and we can't win a game in close minutes. Lots of close losses, in games that we had leads in the second half. Not great. So we have that. Thankfully, last night was not that against Canisius. Now, Canisius is now 1-16, one of the worst teams in the country. Early in the second half, we had led by 1. I think just 2 minutes into the second half, it was kind of a back and forth first half. We had a little spurt at the end to stretch our lead to 7. Griff started out second half on a run, and Tobin called timeout, and then Iona just obliterated them the rest of the way. They with a comfortable victory. So, that's great. I think we all kind of wanted to see that. I've been talking about how important that was. If you guys follow me on the message board and on Twitter, yesterday during the day, I put a very optimistic post out there explaining how we have an opportunity now with our upcoming schedule to make some noise. We're not playing games against teams in the very top of the MAAC. Got a couple home games in here. We're playing. We had the Canisius game starting it off. We're at Ryder, which has not been great, although they're playing a little better now. We're home against Siena. We're at Manhattan, which has not been great. And I'm forgetting the 5th one. Somebody coming here, I think Fairfield maybe. Chances there to string wins together. Maybe even 5, if all goes well. So it's a very optimistic post. And some people I'm sure thought I was being crazy, but you have to figure out what it all means come March when you're this kind of in the situation. I know at Iona, we're used to much more, and this shouldn't be the conversation. People are still mad that we're not the Patino Gales or we're not the Cluse Gales. I get that, but we are who we are. Support the team or don't, but pick one. And right now the goal, I still think the goal is a top 6, not top 10, which gets you in AC. The goal is top 6. That's all you got to do. Get to that top 6. Get to that 3-6 game quarterfinal day at the MAAC tournament. And the way this MAAC is, we've seen it. We've seen 1 seeds bite it every year. We've seen 2 seeds fall. We've seen 3 seeds lose to 6s over and over again. Just get us there. Worst case, though, you don't get top 6. You feel good about hopefully getting into top 10. This is the stretch of games that will get us to that top 10. because the tougher games are coming. We have to play at Marist. We have to play at Quinnipiac. We still have to play at Mount. There's some good games in there. There's some tough ones. And we have to host MAAC. So, but we do get a gift. We don't play at MAAC. Remember that. So that helps. So we still have the Buffalo trip. So there's a lot of tough ones coming. So we need these wins now. So we will see what happens there. But last night was a good start. Now, before I go on, last night had an interesting start before the opening tip, as we got there and immediately got word that Biggie Patterson would not be suiting up. People asking me, texting me, DMing me, what's up? Is he on the team? I have not heard that he's not on the team. They haven't removed him from the roster or anything like that. He's in doghouse mode. It's as simple as that. We've seen these issues before. We've seen Biggie come out of games a couple different times at least and not return in the second half because of whatever he might have said to Tobin or however Tobin might feel about what's going on with him. We saw what happened in the Bahamas where Biggie didn't even come the first two games and then they flew him down for the third one. And then here we are again. So I don't know what's going to happen. I do think last night, though, we saw a benefit to not having him. I've said this on the message board. Biggie's kind of a microcosm of this team leading up to last night. High energy, defense minded, very, very aggressive to the point where he fouls too much. Very, very aggressive offensively to the point where he has too many turnovers, makes too many poor decisions. So, I mean, to me, that kind of sums up Iona. He's, hits offensive glass really hard, forces turnovers, gets a lot of steals. So he is truly what the Gales have been up to this point. He's a perfect symbol of it. Maybe that shift, maybe not having him, or maybe a more mature him if he comes back, and if he does actually show some maturity, maybe that's exactly what we needed. We needed to have a slightly different identity. So last night, no Biggie. We didn't press as much. And the offense looked a little different because of that. I think we flowed a little better. Not that he slows down the offense or bogs it down, but he does take some shots he probably shouldn't take. Maybe also he's a bit turnover prone himself. And not having him out there made us maybe a little more secure at the ball. Maybe a little more flow on the offensive end. And again, not pressing 24/7 because he is ridiculously good at the top of that press. There's no question about that. But not having him there, we didn't press quite as much. So I think that gave us a little bit of boost. And you're going to hear in the press conference, Tobin talking about how making shots gives you a little more juice. And certainly I think that has played into some of Iona's struggles this year too. Yeah, you can be a great defensive-minded team, but if you're not making shots, it's deflating. And I think we've seen that breakdown in the second half. You go through 30 minutes of basketball and you're just not making shots, it's deflating, so the other team goes on a run. And maybe it's as simple as that. So how do you make shots, and how do you flow better on offense? Maybe we saw a step of that last night without Biggie. The rotation in general was shorter without Biggie, but it was shorter anyway. We didn't see Emu Abor until garbage time. We didn't see Hogarth until garbage time. Same thing with Wallace. These are, and then of course Biggie wasn't even dressed. So that's 4 scholarship players that weren't there, which means we only played 9. Tobin said early in the year he wanted to like a 9-man rotation, just about right. Maybe this is the 9. Now, again, I'm saying all this. Everything was positive last night. It was Canisius. I mean, Canisius is not a good team. But you got to start somewhere. They're on our schedule, just like Marist is on our schedule and MAAC and everybody else. So, hey, they're in our league. We got to play them. We got to go up there still too. But that was a good start to what I hope is a big turnaround run. Where we go with the Biggie situation, where we go from here remains to be seen. But it's going to be interesting to see how we respond at Ryder, a Ryder team that's playing better. Now, Ryder has a test before we get there. They're at Marist. So we'll see what happens to Ryder at Marist and where that carries them going to that game next week as well. So without further ado, I want to share the press conference from last night. We have Adam Jai and we have Luke Jungers, some different names in our press conference. So we're going to hear from them, and then we'll hear from Tobin as well. And then we'll get into Kyle Franko.
I think personally it just started with our defensive talk. Millie was great at just leading us with that. And then sharing the ball offensively. I mean, when you got a talented point guard in Adam, he's going to find guys. We just got to do our job and share the ball and play as a team.
And it seemed like you were generating some turnovers today and being able to score quickly off of those.
Yeah, Coach Cam preaches defense wins games, and the more better we play on defense, the more we're going to win. So I just really locked in on defense, pressuring the ball, being in the gaps, communicating to my teammates, and that's how we're going to get the job done.
Luke, how is this on just confidence building that you won a game by about 20 points today, and how does that feel after some of the tough games you've had so far?
I mean, the season's always going to have its ups and downs, but just getting this one before a little bit of a week break, especially with the empty weekend or bye weekend, is huge, especially just regaining some energy, regaining some confidence for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So
Exactly.
We just keep stacking good days, and we're going to win in the long run.
All right. Do you feel taking that lead in the second half kind of supercharged you, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think as soon as we start seeing the ball go in and we start seeing everyone start to eat on offense, it really just picks up our defense, our intensity, our talk, and everything. And it's really just a chain reaction of us doing what we need to do to win.
How do you guys feel about this being like a turning point here? You guys have been up and down. You come out and have a good win here. Now you're starting to get close to the midpoint of the MAAC schedule. Where do you go from here?
We just got to keep stacking good days. The more we stack good days, the more it's going to turn over into the games, and we're going to win.
And what triggers that? What do you think is going to prompt that?
The whole team just got to buy in, listen to what coaches is telling us. They know what they're talking about, so we just listen, defense, sharing the ball, communicating, keep our energy high. We will win a lot of games.
Right. Luke, the offense was very balanced today, probably more so than I remember for a while. What was different?
I think we really just bought into just sharing the ball. Like, I don't know how many points I had. I don't know how many points Adam had, but we was all sharing the ball, and we was getting great shots every time, and we crashing the O boards. I mean, we can get whatever we want when you share them, play the right way.
What happens from game to game? There are games where the offense is just stagnant and everybody's kind of standing around, and then there's games where everybody's flowing nicely. What's different?
I mean, basketball is a game of confidence, a game of feel. So, I mean, if you just don't got the feel that night, it is what it is. But tonight we had we were all working together, and it worked out for us in the end.
Luke, why do you think you've earned more playing time as of late?
Defensively, like I've just been watching a whole bunch of film, again working with Cam, watching NBA guys, college guys that do what they do at a position like me, where I'm really just a big guard, so I really have to lock in and guard more guards. So being able to take care of what I need to take care of on the defensive end really just helps me get more minutes.
Adam, what are you learning as a freshman point guard?
I'm learning simple wins. The simpler plays are going to make the home plays. Like, you don't have to make the home run play. The simple plays is going to be what win us games. So I'm just learning to keep it simple, make the extra passes. I'm learning reads, the different reads I didn't read in high school. So, reads, yeah.
When you guys had that fast break, and then Millie, I think, gave it up to you, and you guys kind of had an over-the-top celebration, considering, it was just a layup. Could you guys describe what was going on in the huddle there?
We always preach, let's be team guys. So him throwing that extra pass was, a great team moment, and that just got everybody excited and boosted up. So, yeah, that was a very unselfish play, and our goal is to keep playing unselfish for the rest of the season, starting from today. Because we played really unselfish. We had about 25 assists, only to 8 turnovers.
Adam, you were 7 of 10 today shooting. You got a lot of good layups. The team shot 53%, very strong. 45%, 11 of 24 on threes. What was going on shooting today? Why did it go well?
Well, we've been working on shooting. We got groups before practice. We get a bunch of shots up, so that helps a lot. So recently, we just been working, getting a lot of shots up, reps on reps. And the more you work, it's going to show.
Luke, you had 4 of 7 on threes today. It seemed like you were looking for corner shots.
I mean, Cash is in the corner, so you got to run those corners and get as any three you can get.
Very good.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good.
Relief, right? All right. Good win. I thought we did a lot of good things, like shared the ball. Biggest thing, we've shared the ball, passed the ball. We had 25 assists, 8 turnovers. That hasn't happened a lot this year, so it was good to see the guys make the extra pass. Favorite play of the game was when Millie gave up the open open layup too in the first half. Like that stuff gives you energy, you know. When you don't make the right play and don't make the right pass, it takes away energy. So tonight we actually made the right play, made the right pass, gave us a little bit of energy. I thought Juggers played well, Menard played well, like bench guys were good. I think Rupert's had an up and down season, but there's still half the season to go. I thought he had a lot of energy tonight and played well. So good win for us. Happy to get this win. We get a little bit of a break here. We need a mental rest for a couple of days and then go back at it on Sunday.
Less pressure defense, at least in the first half today.
Yeah.
Is that a product of not having Biggie?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. We don't have a great four-man up there like JB's trying to get there. He's just not perfect. So yeah, that hurts a little bit. The guy on the ball kind of sets the tone a little bit. So it just didn't have as much pressure up top.
Do you think it was actually better in some ways that you weren't pressing as much?
Maybe a little bit, yeah. I mean, the press we're top 10 in the country in forcing turnovers, so that has helped us in some cases, but it's also sometimes we get in rotations, we get mismatched and things like that. So the numbers tell us that the press helps us, right? So if you go on just straight analytics, the pressure's been really good for us, but sometimes it's good not to do it. So yeah, I thought we started off the game a little sluggish defensively, then we got better as the half went along, and how it is when you score points, that gives you energy. Scoring points helps your defense. I don't care what you could want to say at all. It helps your defense. Guys get more excited about how they're playing, and then it gets you a little more stops.
And while we're on it, what is going on with Biggie?
He's just away from the team right now. I mean, that's what I would say, right? Like in this day and age, all the stuff going on across the landscape of college basketball, there's still some things you have to stand for as a person, as a program, as a school, and so we're gonna stick to that. Same thing happened last year. I'm just not gonna compromise things that in my mind, I've always thought, I've been a head coach for a long time, you do the right thing to help the players learn. This is still a learning mechanism for the rest of their lives, right? It's most of these guys will not play basketball past 24, 25 years old. They have a whole life to live, right? Do the right thing, show up on time, be a good teammate, be coachable, all that kind of stuff. And so if that's not happening, we're going to be accountable. That's just the way it's going to be. And I know it's hard in this day and age to do that all the time, but that's how I've always been, and that's just how we're going to be. So yeah, I'm hoping he learns.
Is there a chance he comes back, or?
I don't want to talk about it right now. I mean, I'd rather just talk about what would happen. I mean, it's fun to watch the game tonight. It's to be honest, it's not your fault, Jim. It's a great question. Just I spent sometimes when you're coaching, people think a lot of it's X and O's and out of bounds plays and how you're going to guard people. It's so much more than that about things like that. I spent too much time. We spent too much time, but I think that's how it is right now. Is people spend too much time on the non-basketball stuff, and it takes away from the basketball stuff. And so what we're trying to do, usually when you have a team for over the course of 2, 3, 4 years, they learn their lessons, they become sophomores and juniors, and it gets better. We're trying to get this all done in a short amount of time. So it makes it harder, but I have a hard time not coaching and holding guys accountable and doing things the right way just all the time, So that's what it's going to be.
So back to the game.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Jungers is definitely moving up in the rotation.
Yep.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, he shoots the lights out, right? So he's a great shooter, so that helps us because he provides something we haven't had all year long. He's a knockdown shooter. And so the biggest key with him is if he can defend and rebound and help us on that end. And sometimes you just got to be neutral. If he can just be average, and we told that all the time, right? Larry Bird was I'm dating myself, but Larry Bird was an average defender, right? But he's an unbelievable offensive player, unbelievable, all that kind of stuff. So if Luke can just get to be an average defender and rebounder and get loose balls, he's an unbelievable shooter who's a huge weapon for us. So
he's improved?
A lot. Yep. Defense. He's got a lot better. Yep. Not without a lack of us trying to help him.
Okay.
Coach, obviously DeJure had a big game today. 12 to 20 shooting and 25 points.
Awesome. Yeah. I love DeJure. He's great. He's great. He just, we've been trying to get him to be more assertive, and so we're talking after the Quinnipiac loss, in our last 12 games, we've had the lead in the second half of 10 of those games, right? So when you have the lead in the second half, it's not it's not a fluke. It's not you're playing pretty good basketball in bits and pieces, right? At some point, when teams make a run, your best guy's got to kind of put the run out, make a shot, make a play, get a loose ball, and that's what DeJure can do for us, And so I kind of talked to him listen, man, you got to go you got to go like, and we get in trouble, you got to kind of get us out of there, you know? Like you got to rescue us sometimes in big moments. And I think he's in a new role for him. He was a sixth man last year in Northern Colorado, so this is all new for him. But he wants to be the man. He's got to be the man all the time, and he's learned that. He was better tonight.
Was there a better look today at 38-37? You kind of talked about body language the last couple of weeks, and then you guys responded off of that.
Awesome, yeah. Like just the whole extra pass and sharing the ball, and like it's contagious. Playing unselfish is contagious, just as playing selfish is contagious. And I thought once we started sharing the ball, like you probably noticed, you watch our games, we get to the rim a lot of times, we try to go up over three guys and get our shot blocked. Those are hard shots. If we'll kick it out, there's one possession in the second half, like I think Winborn got a three, where like I think JB got an offensive board, maybe Bundy did, and kicked it out, maybe Juggers did. And like, if you'll throw that ball out and we make a shot, we call them daggers, that gives the whole team energy. And like, when you don't make that pass, it just sucks it away. So I thought I was good to see that tonight. You know, I was really frustrated against Quinnipiac because I thought we played really well the first half, and then a little bit of us not playing the right way led to them making a run and coming back in the game. And like, if we just play the right way, but like that takes time to understand it and to learn that. You know, so we're trying to learn that. I think we're making progress. You know, we're tired right now mentally. Losing these games in the you know, they want to win, they want to do well. We're fairly hard on them just in general because, like I told you, the window is not, there's not always room to say, hey, and we'll get it by next year, we'll get it in 3 years. You got to kind of do it quicker. So, you know, we watch a lot of film, we do a lot of stuff. So I think they need a couple days off away, and I think this win will help us with our little bit of momentum.
Yeah, Tobin, as Ken pointed out, that was an incredible 25-point run by DeJour tonight. Definitely one for the ages. Do you think the two close losses from this past weekend played a role in that? What are your thoughts?
Hard to say, you know. I mean, I think we're all frustrated at the standpoint of, like, we've had, you go right down the list of games, like a lot of games with 2-point game, 4-point game, 5-point game, where we've lost. But I said, you know, we talked, the losing does not bother me. The losing bothers me, but it's how you lose by not sharing the ball, not playing the right way, not being unselfish. That's the part that kills me. So I thought, I told him, like, if we play the right way and share the ball, we'll live with the consequences. And the reality is, if you do the right things, the results will be a hell of a lot better. So that was good to see. But yeah, I think, you know, you're hoping to learn lessons through this whole thing, but like, you know, it gets to be a little bit late too at a certain point.
This was probably Winborn's best game.
I thought he played well, right?
I think he's finding himself now.
A little bit, yep. I mean, it's hard when you miss, you know. People don't. I mean, you miss 2 months. You miss 2 months of not only games, but you miss 2 months of practices. You miss 2 months of, and then you have to come back from not being in shape, not being game ready. So I think he's getting better in practice. He's been better. He provides a little spark for us.
Well, the younger guys collectively, are they starting to turn a corner? You think?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
because that's
Yep.
certainly a big part of it.
Yep, that's huge. That's huge. You're hoping, like, the next guy is Hogarth. Like, I'd like to see Hogarth. He didn't play a lot tonight, but I'm hoping he makes a little bit of a progress in the next few weeks. And like, we have a chance now. We're off till Sunday, practice Sunday, Monday. It's a chance to really get better and get him going. But I thought Rupert played well tonight, man. When he plays like that with that energy and like his body language was great, that makes us all better.
And Mooney's been playing less. Any reason why?
Not practicing well. I mean,
do you think he's sitting at the wall?
Was he in here for an interview? He hasn't been I kicked him out of practice 2 days ago, kicked him out of shoot around today. So like, he's got, I mean, like, and I love you. He spent Christmas with me and my family. My mother-in-law loves Yafet. Like, we all love Yafet, right? He's like a freshman. He just gets so emotionally up and down. And so it's like, you know, he didn't play well against Quinnipiac. And a lot of times guys' reaction is to feel bad, feel sorry for themselves. And like, he's got to just suck it up and get tougher. And like, we all love him. We all know what he can do. He should be playing. Him and Millie should be splitting that 5 spot. They should be a two-headed monster. And when he's not playing as much, it's because of what he's doing, for the most part.
How did the team take to the message about playing for your Herb Brooks moment in the last press conference about playing for the, you know, name on the front?
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot, right? So we just, and like, you know how it is. Like, guys don't believe that. Guys in general think, well, he's not talking about me. He's talking about the other 13 guys, right? So we have to show them video. We have to show them film. We have to show them examples of that kind of stuff. And they still sometimes don't totally buy into that. So we just keep pounding the rock. And I think we are making progress. Like, I thought Adam was great. I mean, how many assists did Adam have tonight?
9.
I mean, that's the most probably he's had all year, I would think, right? So, I mean, and Adam is extremely coachable, right? He's still young, he's still learning, but he's unbelievably coachable. So, like, he took that message and, like, he had 9 assists. He's a point guard, you know? Sometimes he fashions himself as Kyrie Irving wants to be a scorer. He's a great New York City point guard who can share the ball. And, like, I think he had fun tonight because he was hitting guys making shots. Now, listen, you make a pass and Juggers makes a shot, that gives him energy. You make a pass and a guy misses a shot, it's kind of like, maybe I should have shot that. So he's better when he knows guys around him can make plays. But I thought he responded. He had hurt his leg a little bit or something, kind of sore this morning. I said, listen, man, I'd be more impressed today if you played as hard as you can with an 80% or 70% than I would if you were feeling perfect. And he responded great. I love the kid. He's just got a great personality. I feel bad for him sometimes. He's got a lot of pressure. I mean, people think he's supposed to be so incredible all the time. Like, you just like let the game have fun and let the game come to him. And tonight was like I think he had fun tonight. I think he enjoyed tonight's game. We all did.
How were they in the locker room afterwards? And do you also think, to some degree, this kind of takes a little bit of a piano off their back, this game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing we all know is that this got to lead to something else now. You know, we've had a couple times when he felt like, okay, maybe we're turning the corner, getting better. I mean, listen, the Quinnipiac game, you know, we controlled that game most of the game, and you lose it. It's just frustrating, right? And so, and even to start the second half, they came out and made a run at it. And a lot of that's just like we don't have the confidence yet to feel like, okay, we can put this game away. So hopefully it helps us, but it's got to be. We got to go play at Ryder next, and we got to see it at home. We got to make a little bit of a run here, you know. At some point, you got to win some games in a row and put some back-to-back performances together. So, like, yeah, I mean, I think we feel good about tonight, but like, there's also we've dug ourselves a little bit of a hole we got to dig out of, you know. But I do think this team has a chance to get a whole lot better and be a factor in March.
Coach, sometimes you hear the expression, a team has to learn how to win and advance and win the close games. Is this team reaching that point? I
mean, we'll find out, right? I mean, you can't just have on one game tonight. We got to figure out how to do it. You know, like you can't go through the season and not put some streaks together. We have to be able to do that, you know. So I do think I liked how he played tonight. So that's a good sign. If you just won and didn't play the right way, be different story. I think we played the right way tonight, so I feel good about that.
Feel good about 53% field goal percentage?
Was that what it is?
Yeah, 53.2, 33.
I mean, life's 62. A lot better when the shots go in, you know? Like I told you all along, I'd much rather play the 80s and 90s. Like, that's, like, so we haven't been a good offensive team. Is that because, you know, like my dad used to always say, like, if you're missing shots, it's one of two things. You're either a bad shooter, right? Or you're a good shooter taking bad shots, right? I don't necessarily think we're not a great shooting team, but we're not an awful shooting team. If we get good shots and share the ball and make us, you know, hit the open man, and we can shoot it better than we have shot it so far. You know, we have not shared the ball like we need to share the ball all year long. So that was a good step in the right direction.
All right. That was our press conference last night. And now let's go to Kyle Franko of the Trentonian, who covers Ryder. Oh, and by the way, Princeton as well. So talk a little bit about that game early on this year as well in this session. Well, we are racing through the MAAC schedule at this point, coming off of exciting Thursday night action in the MAAC where the Gales actually put together an easy win, and some other team called Ryder starting to find itself now. So what better timing than to have Kyle Franko from the Trentonian on to talk Ryder hoops with us as the Gales have a week off until we play that game. I know Ryder's got a game coming up. We'll talk about that, but yeah, the Gales have a week off, and then they're playing at Ryder, which is all of a sudden looking like a more interesting game than it did about a week and a half ago. So, Kyle, welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Guy. How do you feel about this Thursday-Saturday shift? The MAAC has gone to a few of those this year. I feel like it's a Saturday morning, right? I kept thinking it's Friday, and then I keep reminding myself it's actually Thursday last night.
The only issue I have, it's Friday nights are nice because you are kind of front and center because no one else is really playing. But then Sunday you're competing against the NFL.
Right.
And, there are people like me who bet on all the games and who have fantasy and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, now I got to watch all this other stuff or miss games, NFL games, because I'm going down to Iona or whatever. So I don't mind the Thursday, Saturday shift as much as others might.
I'm curious to see what some of the officiating looks like on
Yeah.
Saturdays, because you have all the high major leagues
Taking
playing, you're right. And, when you went Friday, Sunday, those guys would come in and pick up MAAC games before they went to their Big East or their ACC game or wherever it may have been on Saturday.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, and last night, I don't know, you were not at the Rider game last night?
I was there. They were at home.
You were. How was the reffing?
No, it was fine last night. It was one of those games where neither coach was yelling at them.
All right. That's good. I didn't think Iona's refs were horrible. Iona is always going to foul more than their own opponent. So that, people have to get over that. But, Saturday games for you will be the test. We'll see what we get. Yeah. But Iona's off. So that Iona has the one team that has the bye. So we'll see. Anyway. So let's talk Rider. The Bronx, had a bumpy non-conference schedule and then just really went to hit the skids for a while though. What was that losing streak?
9.
It's
actually the longest since 1988-89.
Oh, that's wild. What happened? Tell me what happened.
Well, it's interesting because they actually started the year by winning 4 of their first 7 games all on the road. And
that's right.
you're like, oh, this is a little different than last year where they just got off to an awful start in non-conference. And then they lost the 2 MAAC games to Fairfield and Quinnipiac, the two breakout games in December. And I think that just kind of threw them, for a loop, maybe mentally a little bit too, because, they really struggled defensively. Like that was the big thing during that stretch is they couldn't stop anybody, like particularly guarding the 3-point line. I think opponents are shooting like 37% from 3 against them. And it's, it's well documented that they don't shoot the 3 well themselves. So it's like, how do you keep up when you got to make up 12 to 15 points a game from the 3-point line? So, and I think one thing kind of bleeds into something else. So when you're not making shots, then all of a sudden, you kind of lose focus defensively, and it all culminated in, but you can't sugarcoat it. That was a debacle at Canisius a week ago when they lost by 18 points to what was a winless team. They were embarrassed in that game. And look, Kevin Baggett came out and said as much. He said, look, this is as low as my program has ever been. I lost 9 straight games and just got it handed to us by a team that had not won. But look, and to their credit, they've got off the deck here. They won at Niagara right after that. They held on. And then, last night they beat the Mount at home, forced 25 turnovers in that game, had 16 steals. So the defensive effort was much better.
So it's strange after Iona had what was I'm a little surprised at what was an easy victory over Canisius. I had run into one of the assistants heading out, and he's like, "Yep, I get ready for Rider." And I said, I knew the Rider score by then. I'm like, and Rider just in time fixed their problems, and they're now playing better basketball. He was like, "Yeah, of course they did." How does Rider fix their problems and now won 2 straight?
I think it's just energy. And intensity on the defensive end. I think that a lot of that is just, sometimes a little bit better attention to detail. You would watch them play during that losing streak, and it would just be like somebody be late on a rotation. You didn't get out to a 3-point shooter, or you blew a switch on a pick and roll, and it was just it was happening over and over and over again. And then I think they just kind of locked in, and maybe being embarrassed by Canisius was sort of the catalyst in a way for that, because they were much more locked in against Niagara. They actually played a little bit more zone against Niagara, but they did a better job of just getting out the shooters and getting guys off the 3-point line. And then last night against the Mount, it was a lot of changing defenses, right? There's some man, some zone, some press, then maybe a little matchup zone. So it's just different looks, and they were super active with their hands. They had 16 steals last night, which was the most they've had in the game since 2018-19. It helps that the Mount's fairly careless with the basketball. They lead the MAAC in turnovers. So that was, but Rider's defense had a lot to do with that. So when they're engaged defensively, that's the biggest difference.
Okay, well, we talked about how Iona doesn't have a game until playing at Ryder next Thursday, but Ryder's got one and a fun one scheduled for tomorrow. They are at 6-0 Marist, 13-2 overall. So one of the big online, as you know, MAAC circles can be fun for their fans, and we love to give each other a hard time. And the big topic is Marist is 13-2, but they're not really 13-2. I mean, their schedule has been awful. They're 6-0 against MAC competition. What is Marist in your eyes? Are they a good team?
I think they're a decent team. Like it's funny because right before I came on, I was looking through some KenPom stuff, and Marist non-conference, not just non-conference schedule. Overall schedule is 364th nationally, which is dead last. I think Marist's best win is actually Quinnipiac this year, whose KenPom is 210. I think Quinnipiac and Richmond are the only ones who aren't sub 250. Which is kind of like, to me, like, I do think Marist has got a decent team. Like the kid Pasquarelli could be the MAC player of the year. He's really good. And they got the kid Elijah Lewis coming up from the Division II level, and he's given them a nice shot in the arm. Jackson Price is a 6'8" center. He can step out and make threes. You know what a John Dunn team is going to do to you defensively. Like, I almost would have liked to see them challenge themselves in the non-conference.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you thought you were going to be one of the top teams in the MAC, like, go out and get a game against a Big East or an ACC, just to see what you look like against that level. I guess in a way it's nice if you're one of the schools that doesn't have to go out and play 4 or 5 bye games.
Yeah.
And you could sort of schedule in that way where you could build confidence and you can build wins going into the league. But I do think Marist is a decent team. Like, I think they're going to be there at the end when we're talking about the top 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds in the MAC. Now, they were up there last year and they faded a little bit at the end of the year. They ended up hanging on to 3rd place because if you remember the kid from Niagara, the shot was like a 1/10 of a second too late. On the last day of the regular season. And if that's good, Ryder's actually the 3 seed, and I think Marist drops to 6 or something. So like that's how close it was. But I'm interested to see them on Saturday night. It's a big opportunity for Ryder too, having won 2 games in a row. Like, can you go up there and beat the team that's leading the league? Ryder's played okay on the road. Like 5 of the 6 wins are away from home. You go up there and beat Marist and hand them the first league loss, then we can talk about, really having some life back into your season.
And I keep waiting for that loss to happen. And to their credit, it hasn't happened yet because but you look at all the Marist games and even against the MAC teams, they're all tight games. They have players that make plays late in games to put games away and they make free throws. And that's something to be said for that. At the same time, they feel like a team that's going to be the 1 seed that's going to fall in Atlantic City. So, it's just,
but
the way it feels.
You're right. Like, there's something to be said for that. Like, I think if you look at through any league, and you look at the teams at the top, they win close games because they either get a stop when they have to get a stop, or they have a guy who can, who you can give the ball to, and he's going to get you a bucket when you need that.
Yeah.
And that's through. I think that's any team in any league. It's you gotta find ways to win. It's not always pretty, but that's what makes the top teams the top teams.
Yep. So we have, speaking of top teams, we have 3 clear top teams at the moment, I feel like, in Marist, Quinnipiac, and Merrimack. And then we have 8 teams that are all between 2 and 4 and 4 and 2. What do you make of that?
I think the way you feel about your team depends on how the last result went. Like in the MAC, I really do. But no, I think I do think the top 3 teams have sort of separated themselves. But I was kind of looking at it going into last night, and I was like, 9 of the 13 teams before play going into last night had at least 3 losses. And I'm like, so if you want to be like glass half full, if you want to spin it that way, it's like, hey, everybody's right there. And if we can win, you can put a streak together where like you sweep a weekend, or you can get a streak where you 4 out of 5, like you're going to put yourself back up the standings. And like, you could go from feeling like, oh man, we're scrapping to just getting the top 10 to, oh, look, we're 6th in the matter of a weekend. You feel totally different about yourself. And that's kind of what I'm looking for the rest of this month, because I think at the end of January, that's when you really look and kind of take stock of where you are and get a pretty good feel about your team. So these last 2 weeks in January to me are going to be super interesting to see if anybody, maybe starts to maybe climb up on those top three and kind of pull away from this sort of pack of 9 teams.
Yeah, and it's more interesting this year in a lot of ways because you're not automatically at Atlantic City anymore. And I think Canisius is a pretty safe bet not to make Atlantic City.
I would agree.
I'm not convinced that St. Peter's is not going to play better.
For as poorly as Ryder had played in those first 4 games where they were 0-4, I'm looking like, how is St. Peter's 1-5?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I coming off the NCAA tournament, and I thought St. Peter's had played as well as any of the MAAC schools in the non-conference.
Yes, they did without a doubt. And their Ken Palm is still not bad. Even with these whatever losses, I have to go look, but I feel like that a lot of these first 6 games they've played have been against Marist, Quinnipiac, Merrimack. I know they played at Iona and lost. So they've had, they I don't think they've played Canisius. I don't think they've played Sacred Heart, Niagara yet, things like that. Teams that are maybe teams that they will win against. So
they're actually making threes this year. They're usually near the bottom half of the MAAC. Now they've attempted the fewest threes in the league, but they're making them at 36.5%. So which I found very interesting, that they're like making some more threes than they usually do. And here they're 1-5. I just can't see that St. Peter's team being in the bottom 3 though.
Yeah.
Like when I look at that roster, I don't see a bottom 3 roster. I have to think they're going to get on a roll here where they win like 5 of 6 or something like that.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out who's going to be the teams that drop, but it could be any number of them, including Iona and Ryder, depending on where things go.
I mean, I'm pretty confident in saying Canisius is going to be in the bottom 3, but the other I don't know who the other 2 teams are going to be who don't make it.
Well, and it's fascinating because, you make the top 6, you're only playing 3 games in Atlantic City. So that's the race that everybody's going to follow on. I think we feel comfortable that Marist, Quinnipiac, and Merrimack will all be top 6, but that battle for those 4, 5, 6 spots will be fun. But also, how much fun will the end of the year be with these teams trying to play to continue their season?
Yeah.
Even if they're only going to be there for 1 game, it's still, I'd rather go to Atlantic City than not.
It adds intrigue to the season. And it was something I think, people debated on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. When that came out, that they were all going to take 10 teams instead of 13. And my opinion on it has been, given what was said about the schedule, right? Last year, there was a big deal made about how there was a game that started at like 11 o'clock at night. And you're playing 6 games in a day. So because you have the women and the men together. So you have a women's game starting at 9 a.m. That's not really fair. And neither is a men's game starting at 11 p.m. on the back end of that. So there was a lot made about how the schedule had to, they wanted to change the schedule. So why are we, twisting ourselves into a pretzel to try and accommodate the bottom 3 teams in the league to get them to Atlantic City? Because at the end of the day, you want your best representative in the NCAA tournament. Now, your best representative sometimes can be any number of teams. It doesn't necessarily have to be the team that wins the regular season title. If it's a year where everything is close, like I always think of the year where Marist and Iona played in the final, and Marist was the 11th seed, and it's it was a cute story, and it was like, oh, look at the MAAC, the 11th seed is in the final. But did anybody really want Marist representing the MAAC in the NCAA tournament that year? That Iona team, and I know you have how you feel about Patino, but if that Iona team plays any other 4 seed that isn't UConn, it wins that first round game.
I think there's a case to be made for that without a doubt. And that's just it. I mean, looking at these teams now. So I'm going Mount St. Mary's, Siena, Fairfield, Iona, Manhattan, Niagara, Ryder, Sacred Heart, St. Peter's. I can make a case for every one of those teams in the top 6, and I can make a case for every one of those teams in the bottom 3.
Exactly. And so could I. And that's part of what makes the MAAC fascinating.
Yeah.
Is that it's like, it's just one of those leagues where on any given, I always say you can beat every team in the league and you can lose to every team in the league.
Yeah. Yep. And Ryder might be evidence of that,
And they very well might be, because if they go up and beat Marist on tomorrow, they've now beaten the league leader and lost to Canisius. And that would be so very MAAC if they did that.
That's exactly right. All right. I think we've covered quite a bit of stuff there. All right. Well, this has been a great visit with Kyle Franko once again from the Trentonian. Follow him on Twitter if you're not already for all your rider needs, and also Princeton and whoever else you cover.
One more thing real quick, because Iona played Princeton in that opener, and first of all, I was impressed with Iona in that opener. I know we're in the kind of, it feels like forever ago.
It was forever ago.
It was I thought Tobin had his guys ready to play in that game. They were physical. They outworked Princeton for 25 minutes in that game. And they had something to prove against a team that a lot of people were talking about. And at the same time, after that game, I remember I might have been talking to our buddy Jaden Daly, and I said, this is going to sound weird after a season opener, but I feel like that was Iona's A+ game in game number 1.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if Iona can play any better than that. It was just one of those, that feeling I had. I mean, you see them more than I do. But if they could recapture that kind of performance, Iona could beat anybody in the MAAC.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right. I think we've all kind of, and a similar thing happened last year. Iona went down to Charleston and almost beat them, and then we never really quite matched that level again.
Okay.
I think the element of Tobin was relying on the element of surprise in these games. It's hard to scout us going into this year because we had an entirely new roster. So Princeton just prepared, and they know Tobin presses, and that's all they knew.
Yep.
So, and I think the element of surprise played a pretty good element into that game. But yes, the performance level in that game and the energy level that they had was exceptional and really had us all licking our chops. And then, it just, and we're in a similar path to last year where we just can't find consistency right now. So, but that's why we, the whole MAAC is that way. So I have no idea what's going to happen at Ryder next Thursday. I have no idea what's going to happen with Ryder and Marist tomorrow. So we'll see. It's going to be fun, but that's why we follow the MAAC.
Yep, 100%. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, Kyle, thank you again for coming on the podcast. We'll catch up again down the line, and I may or may not see you in Atlantic City, depending on who makes it there.
Yep, always great to be on, Guy. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks again. Thanks to Kyle Franko from the Trentonian for joining us on this episode of the podcast. Up and down season continues, but I've been talking about it, and I believe. Do you? Go Gales.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the IonaHoops.com podcast. This podcast is a production of IonaHoops.com and its publisher Guy Filotico. The opinions shared during this podcast are those of Guy Filotico, IonaHoops.com, and any featured guests. This podcast is not affiliated with Iona University Athletics or the university itself. Thank you for supporting IonaHoops.com.